BOE lottery.
Okay, so it's a meeting with the pushes buttons of the meeting.
All right, I'll go back and forth. You guys can get that in.
Stand by. Oh, wait, that's it. Connect the speaker. Okay, now hit mute.
Good word.
All right, you want to unmute unless.
The secret code that I feel like we have is that when you hit your button and it's
Speaking.
we know that that responds. And wait for it to.
All right, now I'm on mute.
It's about a 5-second lag. We can do a little thing. It could be a.
Let's practice it. Let's call the meeting to order for 6:30 for the January 14th regular Board of Ed meeting. Okay. Do we have any public comment this evening?
I have none.
Is the Zoom going?
Yeah, give me a second.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. Do you see any public comment? I don't see any. Okay. Okay. And no correspondence, Troy?
I have none.
Okay. We have the calendars. The first one is to discuss the 11/18 meeting. I know I asked a few of you about some different dates. Does everybody feel? That's all right. Does everybody feel okay just going at 5:30 on that regularly scheduled date, and then we'll be done by 7? Okay. No. So, and then, so Brandon, do we need to update our calendar with the town then for that? Okay, thank you. And then we have the district calendar.
Okay, so the district calendar is in your packet in beautiful colors. And it has been, this version has included your input from the last meeting, which basically was to take the day off before before Thanksgiving. So November 25th is now no school at all. It used to be a half a day. And to move the last day to Friday, June 11th, so then we can set graduation for that day, regardless of how many snow days there may be, and to place Good Friday where it actually is in the calendar, which is March 26th. So that day would be off. I think those are the major changes based on your input last time. So possibly this calendar is ready for a vote.
Can I just double check? The administrators had no issues with these changes? There was no concern?
No.
Is there any reason for the half days for the parent teacher conferences to be on a Wednesday and Thursday versus a Thursday, Friday? I thought traditionally we do Thursday, Friday.
Speaking from the point of a teacher, having to stay late on a Friday for parent teacher conferences is certainly never fun.
I don't
Eh,
know if we have late Friday teacher conferences, however. Anyway,
I thought when we discussed, we thought it made more sense
They-
to put it right after the day off after election day and then just kind of mess up that week right there and then just have Friday as a normal day out.
Yeah, and it then also matches the conferences in March. The last day of March is a Wednesday and first day of April's a Thursday. So it's also Wednesday, Thursday conferences in the spring. So there's some consistency there.
no, that's fine. I just wanted to know. That's fine. I'm okay with it.
I make a motion to approve the calendar as presented by the superintendent.
I'll second.
Brian seconded. All those in favor? Great. And we have the policy on visitors.
Chet, do you want to talk this through at all? Because you did most of the work on this. Chet,
So I went through and took a look at the options. I know that we had looked at it before, but there were a couple of different issues. Number one, it had the alternative language that was still in it in the original presentation of it and things like that as to which one we wanted to go with. I put this together out of the pieces of the CABE policy. Mostly my goal was to have it be as broad as possible. I liked the alternative language that basically said that visitors had to comply with the rules set forth by the administrators when they showed up at the building. That was kind of my goal, was to have it be give the administrators the power that if they needed to deny entry to somebody, that could happen. Now, if they were going to do that and it had to come to the board and there was an issue and whatever else, right, we deal with that afterward. But in the moment, I don't want administrators to feel forced to allow entry to a building if for some reason they feel uncomfortable. And I liked the language, the way this one worked out, that basically hit all of those points. I also did want to make sure that we had a specific piece regarding sex offenders in there, because that is something that I've dealt with in my own district, that we've had concerns about, and there are specific legal requirements about when sex offenders must be allowed inside of a school building if they have a student who is in the school for different reasons, and what those reasons extend to. And I just want to make sure that we have those regulations specifically stated in the office. So those were the main things I was looking on there. I think that this is broad enough that it gives our administrators the ability to come up with their regulation that will meet all of these pieces while making them and their staff feel safe in the school. And that was really my primary goal.
Do we actually have a written out procedure involving that situation? Could we get one?
That's what I'm gonna have to do.
Okay.
That's what I'll have to do if you adopt this policy.
Okay. Thank you.
Troy, so we have to adopt the policy first and then you would come out with those recommendations or that the stipulations according to it?
Yes.
So how would we then be emailed or how would we know what those regulations
I can bring
are?
them back to you when they're done.
We
Okay.
do, and those are basically considered the regulations behind the policy. We don't typically approve those.
Mhm.
So that allows administration to change them as they seem to want to do, if they need to do it. And then we just have the policy and they implement the regulation behind the policy.
Mhm. Could we put something in here that guarantees or, makes it so that the safety of students and teachers, these policies that you will create, Troy, will, safety of students and teachers is first and foremost. In accordance with the law and the rights of any offender.
I mean, we could
Change the language, you mean, of the policy? Or like, I know in the second sentence, it says to promote safe and productive educational environment. Or is there a certain piece of language you want changed or?
Are you talking this
I-
policy? or
I'm
the
talking
regulation?
third paragraph. I just want to make sure that any rules that administrators make are pertaining to the utmost importance of the safety of the students and teachers, first and foremost, secondary to any rules or laws that they have to follow in accordance with an offender. I just want that I don't want to approve a policy that doesn't put that first and foremost.
So just as a suggestion, after that, adding on to that first sentence in that third paragraph, we could just say to ensure safety of students and staff.
Perfect.
And then it goes on to these procedures shall.
Mhm.
And then would that satisfy what you're talking
Or
about?
prioritizing safety.
Yes, prioritizing.
Prioritizing safety of
all
students
right,
and
so
staff.
prioritizing safety of staff and students.
So
right
after the word sex offenders, prioritizing
Yeah,
the safety of staff and students.
yeah, I don't think there's an issue with that.
And then when you guys, I don't know how long it would take you guys to do that, but if
I,
we could
wait,
just.
I guess,
Hold on.
my only
Okay, go
concern with
ahead.
this would be that you're saying to put that paramount over the laws in this place. There are specific laws that require us to allow access to sex offenders to the school building in the case of any sort of a 504 meeting, a PPT, parent teacher conferences, and I like that needs to be paramount because we
But
have to follow the law.
I think that's in here. I mean, that's the reason why we have to have this policy.
And it does have to
So-
be.
Well, we don't have to have this, but I put the sex offender language in there. It was optional.
It does have to be parent, but they could do the 504s and IEPs over here. And I mean, for parent teacher conferences, again, with the escorts and stuff like that. But no, I mean, I understand there are certain rights, but I also like the idea of ensuring the safety of all staff.
Well,
and
I mean, I
students.
think that's always the case, right?
Right.
And it's stated in the first paragraph. I want to make sure that we understand that there are laws that have to be followed about our treatment of sex offenders.
Which I'm sure they would follow within their policy that they write, the procedure that they write.
Well, but under the same concept, I would say I'm sure they would also keep students and faculty safe.
Well, and I hear where you're coming from, Amy, but when I'm thinking it out, that's kind of a subjective comment. Like what is safety to one person versus safety to another person? I mean, I think we always would put safety first in everything we do. I hear what you're saying, but I don't know in a situation like this why safety wouldn't be
And
important.
To the point that's being made here, the second sentence of the first paragraph, in order to promote a safe and productive educational environment for all students and staff.
It's there.
It's already in
It's in
the
there.
policy itself. I think to put it anywhere else creates a redundancy that's unnecessary.
That's true.
Because it would apply to the rest of the policy.
Yeah, in the end kind of also says that if the principal or doesn't feel safe, then yeah, it doesn't even matter. So yeah, I agree. I think it's a little redundant.
Okay. As long as we've talked about all this and are all on the same page, that it is for the safety of the students and teachers. First and foremost, after the law.
I would still like to see the procedure after it's written too.
We can, once you adopt this, we can certainly create the procedure and then share it with the board.
Could we
So, you
put a
know.
date on that to share that with us at the January meeting?
Ooh,
Is that too soon? Oh,
I can try.
I mean,
I can't
no,
promise
no,
it'll be
I'm
done by
sorry. I
then.
was thinking we're already like how about February?
That's more likely
Yeah.
to be. Yeah.
Right. I didn't mean for the next meeting. I was meaning a couple months out. So February?
Yeah.
Okay, just so it doesn't fall off the radar. And if you can't have it ready for us by then you can just say it's not ready. Okay.
So may I ask just a procedural question? I know you don't have that set up yet, but how do you know when someone is on the sex offender registry? Does that pop up when you scan their license? Okay.
So,
I do believe they are also required to inform the school.
yeah.
Obviously, we would prefer not to be trusting. I guess trust, but double check, right? but it is one of those things where it's not flagged on them unless they attempt to do something like volunteer or have that other piece.
I'll make a motion to adopt policy 1250 as written.
Second. Oh, no, you
I'll
can
second.
second.
No, I don't know whose mic is on.
I don't know if we're on or not.
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain. That brings us up to 7A, the cybersecurity incident expenses. Troy,
Okay,
do you want to address
Yeah,
that?
so the large page, well, the first large page in your packet, which is this document has been updated since the last meeting. Okay, you had a very similar looking document at the last meeting that we shared with the Board of Finance the day after the last board meeting, by the way. And this is the updated one. And with the updated one, you can see the total cost is down to $239,540. It was at $245,000. Okay, so a little bit reduction from the last version. Kathy and I believe this is it could be the final version. If not, it's very close to being done with all of our expenses. There is that call center still out there till the end of January. And we do get a small fee for that, which we may have to pay one more time, but it's really a couple $100. So we believe this is very close to the final expense report on the cyber security incident.
Do we know how close our estimates were in terms of people requesting protection and other pieces of things? Are they pretty on par with what we've had so far?
I'm not sure of that number, actually. And I'd have to probably call the call center.
Because I just feel like that's one of the
but
things that we
I-
kind of have out there, right? That could suddenly everybody could decide that they do want identity theft protection, get it. And
Well,
then we can
they have to
control it.
the end of this month. So if we have, hundreds of people sign up last minute, that could be a significant cost. But I don't anticipate that. The call center is not really getting any calls lately. It had got a handful in the beginning and then it fiddled out. And then there was like 1, 2, 1, and then nothing for a long time. So I get reports every week about the call center. There's been very few calls. I think it's something like 45 calls total since the beginning of it. So,
And the call is how they sign up for it, right?
well, yes, the
Okay.
call is how they sign up for it. Unless there were some people that received an email though, that were past employees, if we had the email address, and they may have All right, so we don't have the exact number, but I could try to get the exact number for, if you're interested in that.
I don't need the exact number. My biggest question was like, what was the likelihood that we were kind of trending along where that number? Because I knew
Oh.
they'd given us an idea of, hey, the likely number of people based on other situations would be around this based on the number of the population affected.
Right.
And so I just didn't know if we were trending to that or if it was off in terms of our overall estimates. So
My feel is it's way lower than what we had estimated.
One quick question, probably for Kathy or Troy either. Did we find out if the insurance pays where that money goes?
No, but not yet, but we did resubmit a second time to the insurance company today. So once I have a better feel for what will be accepted, then I will find out.
Thank you.
Do we have an estimate? You said that we got a grant from Learn. Do we know how much Learn covered as far as the expenses?
So you can see learn on the sheet several times.
Mhm.
Here, and you can see what they're charging us. Learn has a grant that allows them to give us services for IT, human resources, and business at a 25% reduction in rate. Okay, so they've been giving us those services for IT. But I believe they've given us an increased discount because we're a favorite customer. I said that.
A frequent flyer.
I think it's just true. So even it's a great partnership with Patrick Warren. And I think initially, could have charged us much more, I believe. So we're thankful, but that's, you can see the Learn expenses here. We did get a bill from Learn, I think, for December recently, and we decided that that's really not a cyber expense. That's like a regular expense for their services that we had planned for and was in the budget. So that's just going to be paid for out of operations and not on this sheet at all, because it's really, at this point, most of the cyber work is over. And it's now just regular support that we planned for from Learn.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings up an interesting point. So did we pull what our normal monthly expenses are from Learn out of the expenses they charge us here? Or are we just assuming that all of those expenses have fallen under the cyber incident because we got a discount based on the fact that we were spending so much money on the
So
cyber
the
incident?
only work that Learn was doing for us for several months was the cyber incident response.
So
that's
the
why we
general- the
felt good
general
about
IT support
putting
that
it
we
in
had,
the
we're just kind
cyber.
of, we're not adjusting for the general. So our overall IT expenses for Learn should hopefully be under budget for the year. Okay.
It's possible. It's possible, but we may need them for additional projects as we go throughout the year, because we were forced to do a lot of work on infrastructure. And we had already done a lot over the summer. So it's actually incredible, all the technology work that's happened over the last 6 months.
And I think to Chet's point, and that kind of rolls into when we start talking about the non-lapsing, is we're looking at our budget, and if we're going to have a shortfall, what expenses can we cover from non-lapsing? Our Learn invoices, whether they were part of what we were anticipating or not anticipating, invoices we could continue to pay from non-lapsing, because we want to try to fully fund our budget, even though we've got a special ed overage at this point. So I think when we start talking about the non-lapsing, that's something we can maybe consider. Anything else on the cyber? Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Thank you for your work with this report and for keeping everything very clear and straight. We will get this over to the Board of Finance along with the non-lapsing one before we meet with them next week. That brings us up to the non-lapsing.
Okay, so for the non-lapsing, this is the most updated non-lapsing report for you. And it's a little bit different than the one that was originally sent in your packet last week on Friday. There was a little calculation that we had to change. So this is it. You can see the total unencumbered funds is 146,951. And yeah, I mean, this is it. You can ask me or Kathy any questions.
I guess this, again, back to my original question, when we're looking at current finances running short, what things can we start funding from non-lapsing, knowing we have this 234,000 coming in that we initially said we were going to send back to the town, but we need it now to fund some of our other shortages? Are we can we start looking at those line items before we pay out any other invoices and get a really good feel for that moving forward? I'm just wondering about things like, I know we were planning to buy Chromebooks. We haven't done that yet. There's a couple of IT things in here. Just whatever, I guess I kind of leave that to you and Kathy to say, we think we can fund these things from non-lapsing to make sure we're shoring up our special ed needs.
Can I also ask just quick, I apologize. So 146 is with the funds from last year added in. Then do we want to be messing with anything until we find out for sure that we get that 100,000 from insurance? I guess I would be concerned that if we spend this down much more right now, and then all of a sudden, fingers crossed, it sounds like people are pretty positive or optimistic about the idea that we'll get that $100,000 from insurance. But if it doesn't come through, that's going to drain us down.
But we were planning on draining down.
Wait, no.
And
But
so we need to look at.
But I mean, it's a difference of either having 146,000 that we're looking to redistribute or having only 46,000 that we're looking to redistribute.
The 146 does not count the insurance money of 100,000.
Right, he's saying if the 100,000 doesn't come in from the insurance company, then we have to cover that 100,000 out of the non-lapsing.
Out of the 146.
Out of the one, so we would only have the 46,000 left over to spend down to cover.
And I guess I want to make sure that insurance, we know that 100,000 is coming in. And then we have $146,000 there to be able to redistribute out to other expenses and hopefully mitigate special ed costs.
So I'm a little,
Right.
I thought this cyber expense report has already been covered through what we're looking at in operations and
The
non-lapsing.
139.
There's only 39,067.44 left open.
Right.
Correct.
Yes. So
For the
we
cyber incident. So we would only have to cover 39,000. So even if the 100,000, I see what you're saying. So if the 100,000 comes in from the insurance, then we're going to have.
We get 100,000 back. I guess that's kind of what I'm looking
so
for.
just backtrack for a second. That 39,067
Yep.
is already in the non-lapsing report. It's a line item under expenditures encumbered.
Okay, so it'd be
So all cyber-
$60,900.
All cyber has been taken care of. No, but it's encumbered in
But-
here, right?
Well,
but-
but if that 100,000 doesn't get covered, then we have another 60,000 that would come out of non-lapsing to cover that 100, because you'd have to have that 60 to that 39 to cover the 100,000 that's not getting covered by insurance.
No, I don't
No?
think I'm following what you're saying. there.
I think when we look at the forecast, if you think back to what we presented a few weeks ago, we were at minus 200,000.
Mhm.
And Troy and I have worked through the forecast to have a better feel for where we're going to be. And we've reduced that 200,000 quite a bit. But to your point, I would prefer to go through all the numbers with everybody before we speak to it. But I understand we're not at 200,000 negative, but we're not at zero. So you're not wrong in saying, let's wait to see how much insurance money we truly get to help offset that negativity in the forecast.
But that's not the non-lapsing.
Right.
That's the forecast of the budget.
Right. But hypothetically, if we were forecasting an unfavorable 100,000 in the forecast, we would have to funnel expenses to the non-lapsing to cover that 100,000. Right.
That's my concern, is that 100,000, if it doesn't get covered, now we have this 39,000 that's sitting there that's already encumbered for the idea of this. And that 39 will either get bumped back to us if we get this full 100,000, because we have 139,000 already spent. And then 239 is our total. So that 100,000 insurance is what's floating there. If we get that 100,000, then we put this 39,000 back into our total amount that we still have available in non-lapsing, and we end up with almost 200,000, 185,000 that we have to be able to distribute and try and cover those expenses. However, if we don't get that 100,000, then we have to take that 39,000 and increase it by 61,000 to be able to get to the 100,000 to cover our insurance. And then we're only left with 80,000 in non-lapsing to be able to redistribute. Right?
I guess
Yeah.
I'm confused. So
I-
just to help me understand, I'm not looking at the insurance money right now. What I'm looking at is the forecast is showing us almost negative 200. And right now, after covering cyber expenses and everything else, take insurance out of it, we're at 146 in non-lapsing. So we're still about 60 short. If the insurance money comes in, which we have to figure out where it'll go because it can't go into non-lapsing. We cannot put insurance money into the non-lapsing account. So our hope is that it's going to go into our regular operating fund. Then instead of being almost 200 short, we're only 100 short because we've got the insurance money going into our budget line items. And then we've got $147,000 to work with to try to cover that shortage of $100,000 left. So we're either going to be 200 short or a little less, according to your guys' numbers, or we're going to be 100 short.
So, sorry, just, so just to clarify, we've already put the 100,000 that the insurance is, no,
We don't have it anywhere.
nowhere.
No way.
Okay, so I guess that's where I'm also confused with chat. Like, I feel the same way that we should wait. Because if we haven't paid that 100,000 bill, right, to the cybersecurity, if that comes in, then we're good. It's negative, but it shouldn't really affect the bottom line of 146.
No, it'll affect the bottom line of our budget because our budget's what's in the negative right now. So if we can
For
get,
something else, though. That's for a
Right.
special, I think that's where, like, we're talking all these numbers, but I'm not following like what the item is. So for whatever outstanding in the budget, we're still negative there, but we still owe 100,000.
You're not on the mic, just so you know. And I guess my issue is that whether it's in our operating budget or not, we're gonna have to pay it. And our only real option if we don't get the insurance is to pay it out of non-lapsing. That remaining $100,000.
There's not a remaining 100,000. Everything for the cyber, if I'm
So
reading the report,
we have
right?
paid $239,000.
No, we have, the only open invoices for the cyber incident are the 39,067, which is already accounted for in the
on the
non-lapsing.
non-lapsing.
That means that the cyber incident is funded. So then it's, we get the insurance. Go
Right.
ahead.
But I think, I could be wrong, but I think what Chet's saying is it's the budget that we're short the 100,000, not cyber. So to your point, we're going to need the non-lapsing for the budget, whether we call it cyber or special ed or whatever, we're going to need to cover those costs for the non-lapsing if we don't get the insurance.
But
We're
as
still
of right
gonna
now,
be
we don't
short.
know if we've gotten
Right.
that insurance.
We don't.
So there's $100,000 that's floating around, and where are we going to cover it if we don't get it from insurance? And to me, that's a different conversation. than-
About what number do you think we're short in the budget right now?
About 100,000.
About 100, not 200,
No.
about 100. Okay.
And that's 100 that if we get the insurance, that goes to zero.
Or close to, yes.
In that case, then I don't care, because in that case, well, no, if we're at 100 instead of 200, it doesn't make a difference. Because if we're at 100 instead of 200, we can do it either way and we're fine and we're going to be flat. If we were at 200, then I was worried because we were missing 60,000.
Right. No,
Okay.
Okay, so and so I get the waiting, but how long do we wait until all of a sudden we've
I
got
don't need to now.
expenses that are paid? Okay.
No, now if it's 100,000, I don't need to wait. I was thinking in 200,000 and 200,000 didn't work with these numbers. 100,000 works fine. Let's do it.
Okay, so I think for the next meeting, if we could have a list of things that you think for the 100,000 we could pay for out of non-lapsing, and if at the end of the budget year, then if we came out okay, but what we don't want to do is go for an appropriation. We're trying to avoid appropriation at all costs. So that's what we need to be looking at. And I guess I'll leave that to Troy and Kathy to come to us and say, these are the line item things that we think we could fund with non-lapsing to keep our budgets
Yeah, and I believe
flush.
we're probably going to have a finance committee before the next meeting on January 28th. So maybe we can have all that information for you, the committee, and then that committee can present it to the whole board.
Can I ask, I'm confused about the receiving of the $100,000 because my understanding by state statute is that like lost textbooks, money comes in for that, or an insurance claim of any sort just automatically gets, I mean, that's just deposited into our general operating budget.
Right. And that's but we
Isn't that
just
just
want to
what should happen?
confirm that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's in state statute, so it should.
Okay. We
Into
talked
Board of
about it
Ed's operating budget
and
or the
weren't
town?
sure. We just wanted to make sure the town didn't
It comes
get
into
it.
the board because we're not allowed to have revenue, but we are allowed to have replacement costs given through insurance payments. It's written in, I'm not going to remember where it is off the top of my head from state statute, but I know it's there. I can send it to you.
Thank you. Yeah, because that would be the big question that we had is how does it come back into us? So if it goes right back into our operating, okay, well then that's perfect.
Perfect.
And
Thank
then
you.
let's just get that payment.
And then we're talking about the school's policy, correct? We're talking about the school's insurance policy for
Yes.
tech.
No, we're talking about the town. It's the town's insurance policy, not the school's.
Well, it's a combination. It's the town of North Stonington and the Board of Education.
All right, so that may be why Christine is gonna double check.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we have a clear understanding of how that insurance fund comes back. Does it go to the town? But if it's by statute, if it is our insurance, our Board of Education is on that insurance policy, then my hope would be that it goes back to our operating budget.
When did the school's policy and the town policy merge?
Predates me. I do not know.
That I'm not sure.
No, it says the town of North Stonington, the Board of Education, but all of our insurance goes through Kerma and it's with the town. Yeah, I don't know how it came about. It predates me, but I know that the town and we share the same insurance agent and billings and et cetera.
And this is for the tech policy.
This, right. I forgot what they refer to it as it's not cyber, it's some theft or something like that.
So does the school pay the town?
The school pays their portion of the premium. We have also have workers' comp and liability.
Mhm.
They're all bundled together and the town pays their portion and we pay our portion directly to Kerma, which is our insurance.
Okay, thank you.
It's considered an automatic appropriation is what
Okay.
it's called.
Perfect.
And it's under 10-222A, which is basically all of the Board of Ed.
Can you give me
stuff
that
in the
number
state.
again?
10-222A, Connecticut General Statute, 10-222A.
And it's called an automatic appropriation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, any insurance payments that are provided that are provided for replacement or situations in the school are considered an automatic appropriation that don't require town approval or
Perfect.
additional town approval.
Okay. Thank you so much for looking that up. Appreciate that. Any other discussion on the non-lapsing? I think, are we all kind of clear on that now? All right.
I would just say, look for big things.
Right.
Like I would rather approve one really big thing than a whole
Well, and
bunch
that's
of
why I
little-
think even like the learn payments or the, some same line item, so we're not bouncing all over the place too. All of that would be really helpful. Right. Because I don't really see it on here. So while we're talking about this, we had a list of questions from the Board of Finance, and Troy and Kathy are putting answers together for that, making sure we have that shored up. I will have that emailed out to everybody. They have asked us to come to the next meeting, so hopefully we can get them the answers to their questions prior to that meeting. I know it's a lot of meetings, but if you guys can at all come, because I think we need to really show some support that, you know, we're all doing the right things here by our students. We've got really great things to talk about. I don't really want to get drugged through the weeds on line items, you know, unless there's some big thing that they are just not understanding. I'm happy to discuss. I want us to work together, but I also want to make sure we all kind of stay in our lanes too, to continue to support our budgets and move in the right direction. So I think the meeting's at 7:00. Is that when their meeting is? So it's next Wednesday. But I'll make sure you guys have the answers to all those questions that we're going to share with them prior to sharing it with them. So if you have anything you want to give feedback on, feel free to share that. Presentation calendar. We talked about reviewing this just briefly. A couple of thoughts. Let me find my notes real quick and then I'll see.
Yeah, and this is the same calendar that we looked at last time.
Yep.
We just began to discuss, but no decisions were made.
So when I met with Troy last week, we put the agenda together real quickly. I had just gotten back, so we didn't meet in depth on the budget yet or anything. But one thing we did talk about was maybe going back to where the department heads kind of shared with us their budgeting and their process and some of the things in that while we're going through the budget process. So we would hear from the admins, we would hear from the IT. It's not really a department now, but that IT, what is that, a committee kind of that you've got put in place right now?
I do call it a department.
Okay.
We only have one actual employee in the department and the rest are consultants.
Okay. All right. So we could hear from Greg.
We could. I think he might like to come and speak to you.
And nothing too in depth. It doesn't have to be super detailed, but just if we have questions about grounds, we can talk to Randy. If we have questions about something that there's a teacher ask for something on supplies or something, we can talk to the admins. So I'm wondering if that would allow us to take out some of these reports, like the learning resources for curricular and programs. Could that be part of that budget discussion?
Yes.
And the same with facilities. Could that be part of the budget discussion? And if you guys have a different opinion on that, feel free to, and the same with the technology. Could that be part of that budget discussion? What's our purchasing plan? What's our, 5-year plan? That's all kind of part of that budgeting.
Curriculum and programs. I know that we've kind of been at a point now where we just instituted a whole bunch of programs and our goal was to let the teachers be for a bit. And I have no problem like rolling that in this situation. But in the future, if we were going to come up against any sort of curricular decisions, I would want to make sure that we have that set up in the spring, because almost all of those are going to be something that kind of rolls out in, the winter into the spring for the following year, or at least having ideas on that. So like this year, I don't think we have any major curriculum changes that are going to be going into play in the coming year. So it doesn't matter to have all that much done on that. But I think this seemed like a great idea when we were saying, let's be more organized and figure these out so we make sure we're getting the information we want. Mm-hmm. But I think sometimes we're getting information when we don't necessarily need it and not getting information when it might be pertinent because the reporting style isn't.
I'm wondering.
Everything changes a lot. We have a lot of fluctuation. We have a lot of flexibility in the way that things work in the school. And so like the ability to be able to say, hey, we'd really like to have this person come talk to us, I think.
And kind of keep that open so it's not plugged with. Because I'm kind of wondering if, to your point too, like maybe in May, I would really like some feedback on the professional development. I'd like to know what we've been doing with that. We keep hearing that these dates have to align with what's going on in the state, but are we actually going to that, doing that? What are we bringing back? And maybe that could tie with a briefing on the curriculum as well. How is it going now that we've put in these two big programs, the reading and the math, in the last 12 to 18 months? And maybe in the spring, to Chet's point, it would be a good time to hear from them on that.
Well, and I know, I believe I can't remember if I was talking to you about this, Christine, but like I love hearing about the student activities piece of things, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a huge presentation. I think I want to know, like, I want to know who's participating. I love having the all-state athletes come in. I want to have an idea of how our teams are doing, if especially those teams that I don't necessarily follow very closely. You know, I'm not a big lacrosse person, and so I don't know what's going on with lacrosse. My kids don't play lacrosse. We don't go watch them. You know, I know soccer, I know basketball pretty well, but like, having somebody who would come in and give a presentation may not be necessary. It may be something simple enough. I think we had talked about maybe having it be a piece of the student ambassador reports or something like that, instead of having those presentation pieces be there. So I personally am okay if we had one end of the year, hey, how did sports go this year? Again, money wise, are you getting what you need? Are our teams getting what they need? Is there something that we need to do to make that work better? But it doesn't need to be 3 times a year, I don't believe.
Okay, so I'll take that if I can rework this presentation calendar, then taking that into consideration, really using our students to report out some of that stuff. I'd rather hear their opinion on how the sports season went as well.
People involved, right?
Right.
You know, we have people on the debate club. We have people participating in sports. We have those things that are in our student ambassadors' lives, and having them be able to report out on it, I think is cool. So,
All right. So maybe just clearing out some of these so we don't have a report once a month, trying to keep our meetings a little bit shorter, having some space to let people come in when we need them to come in if there's something hot topic that we want to hear about, but maybe making sure we catch some of the bigger things, and then wrapping a lot of this into budget discussion. Does that make sense? And the only other thing I was going to touch on is the student success with the scores and the data. I would love to get that in an email ahead of time so that we can actually look at it, understand it, read it. And then maybe if the admins could come in and we could ask some questions if we had some questions, so that they don't have to stand there and do a big PowerPoint where you can't read the numbers or understand the numbers in that quick of a time anyway, if you guys are okay with that as well. Okay. So I'll work on that and talk to Troy about it, and we'll present it at the next meeting.
So we put this on the agenda because it was requested to be put on the agenda for the next meeting. However, we don't really have anything to report other at this point. However, the students that are going to come the next meeting, the idea is that they hopefully will come with information to share about the food quality. You know, our student representatives, Anna Zeman and James Noyes, have been talking about this in their wellness committee. They've been talking about the food all the time. And I think they will gladly share some information. I'm not quite sure if they're going to they're gathering that through a survey or just from like informal talking, but I mean, they're in the cafeteria every day and they see, and we have an idea, obviously, because we go over there and we see what's going on with the food. So I think this is a great thing for the kids to kind of take a lead on and give us some information.
Out of curiosity, how many adult meals are sold in a given week or month to faculty and staff?
That's a good question. We
Because
could probably get
might
that
speak
data.
to the food quality as well. If the teachers or staff are willing to go and eat the same food that we're serving to the kids,
Yeah,
just a thought.
that'd be interesting number, right, Kathy? You think we can get it?
I can certainly check. The only thing that I see are students, because they put their numbers in and faculty have to pay in cash.
Right.
So, but I'll ask the cafeteria manager.
I think we should have our next retreat there, and we should go all eat there. It's actually not that bad of food. Have you eaten over there?
I have. I don't always do
Their
it.
pizza
but
is amazing.
I have not tried the
Their
pizza.
salads are really good.
I usually eat a salad all the time. I agree. The salad is definitely, I recommend.
Today, the kids had omelets. Well, my kid was supposed to have an omelet. I had his omelet.
Wednesday breakfast for lunch.
Yes. They do. The kids seem to love it. It's very sticky. That's the day I volunteer, and there's syrup everywhere, but the kids love it.
Okay. Anything else on the meal quality or sourcing? Okay. Retreat February 7th. How are we feeling about that? Still good?
I think my I wrote some notes on your annotated agenda on that. And I think one of the reasons for doing that was to look at some goals, possibly revised goals for the Board of Ed. And I've been working with my administrative team, looking at the NEASC report. And I have almost prepared goals to share with you that it would be a draft to, at least we're not starting from zero, and they'd be aligned to the feedback that NEASC gave us on things that we were looking to work on. So I think that could be one of the things at the retreat, certainly, is to look at Board of Ed goals that would then align to school goals and teacher goals and all the way down.
Okay. And then I think we're also going to talk about the communication plan. We're going to make that a big part of it as well. So I think
Right.
if we just did those two things and nothing else. Okay.
And that would take the new business of the public communication practices is the first one. So is that would be handled at the retreat then?
Did you have anything on that?
I
to
don't.
discuss? I didn't have anything at this point either, but I think it's something we wanted to talk about to make sure we're
Okay.
getting things a little more streamlined and everybody going to the same place. And
Yeah.
All right. Jamie, you were pretty passionate about that too. Are you okay waiting for February 7th on that?
Yeah, I think it's okay, but just to kind of give a heads up of where I'm thinking also, I think their communication, like health communication, it has been a big problem, I think. And I think it is a leftover from COVID where we were all very nervous about identifying students. And this is when we were doing the contact tracing, and it basically every communication stopped about health related issues. But the lice situation got a little out of control. And I think that that's something where maybe we could provide guidance on like, what do we expect from that situation? And like, there's been several times when I've gone to the pediatrician and they're like, tell me what's going around so I can narrow things down. And I can't say anything because I don't know. I know nothing. So I think that that's just something, that's where my thought process is headed for this. And that may require maybe even some input from the nurse's office about what they, give us some guidelines of what they feel comfortable sharing and things like that.
I'm gonna say, like, I know public health, all that, even our nurses, they post out through the NFA health page, right, at my school, and a lot of districts do that. Like, here are the things that are going on. Here are some tips for this cold flu season. Right now, we're seeing a spike in these types of cases going around. Just reminders: wash your hands. For little kids, sneeze into your elbow, like all those things, right? And those are just things that just get pushed out, and then the social media pages pick it up and push it out as well. That's what should be going out that way.
Yeah, obviously no identification of anything,
Right,
even
sure.
on a grade level, it's just, but the lice situation really highlighted that got out of control because there was no communication. And even if it was just on the website, I agree, like it would have been helpful.
So
for
there
everybody.
actually was communication, and maybe it wasn't as quick, and it was limited to a grade level initially. So, and then it became more school-wide eventually, but it was limited to it may actually have been limited to the class and then the grade level, but there was definitely communication. It just maybe wasn't as effective or as quick as it could have been. I don't know.
Was it
So I'd have to
communication
review
to
that
all
with
parents
the
of
principal,
elementary
because
school?
I know there was definitely some communication.
Because I got
regarding
one
it.
late. Like you're saying that it only, like, I mean, it was basically wrapped up by the time I got an email that said, be aware of lice.
So I think,
Okay, but there was communication regarding it.
But I think given the nature of the situation, it was too late.
That's what I'm agreeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the
So
so I
timing-
think we'll put in some like, when do we alert? How do we alert? That kind of
Yeah.
a thing, maybe talking to the nurses prior to our workshop, just to get some feel from them. And then we can bring that information in with us as we discuss it. I think it's really hard when you have families with more than one child, they're in more than one grade, to limit communications to one grade. That might be something but I think let's have discussion about it and just see, there's always more
Yeah,
work that can
and
be done.
I could review the communication that went out from the school, just so we have it clear about, from the school's perspective, what did they communicate and when? Because I'd hate to say they didn't do something when they did.
Sorry, not to get too into this, but when do you decide to do the robocall versus your voice?
It really depends on the urgency of getting the message out. And if I have time to do my voice, I prefer to do that. But the robocall, I know I used it a few times because of the urgency of getting the message out in a short amount of time.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little jarring, I think, but we like to hear from you. I think it's very reassuring to hear from you versus, but I understand that if it's an emergency.
Anything else? Okay. The supply fan motor.
Yeah, so I just put this on here for transparency because at the time we had to, a quick purchase had to be made and it was over the $4,000 and our purchasing plan requires that you get multiple estimates, but this was like no heat in the elementary school music room and end up being something that, because we're partnering with the town on expenses, the town ended up picking up the expense anyway. So just so you know, that was done and we appreciate the partnership with the town.
Thank you. Format of financial reports. Do you want to elaborate on that one a little bit? Because I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
on that.
you know, just thinking about this, I have a couple comments about this. One being, I know there was discussion at the tri-board meeting about the numbering of the lines. And I like, and even you could see on the non-lapsing report itself, then the lines are numbered. In fact, some lines are numbered that don't even have anything on it. And that's because the reason for numbering the lines is only for the purpose of looking at this one document and efficiently looking at it and say, hey, can everybody look at line 21? Oh, that has to do with servers. Okay. Is the efficiency of looking at this one document has nothing, never had anything to do with comparing one document from 1 month to a document from another month. Okay. So I just wanted to be very clear about that. And I wish I had said that to tri-board meeting, but it just didn't come to me quickly. So that's one thing.
Right. Okay. Because I was gonna say they're not correspondent to the line items of our actual budget.
Right.
Okay.
And they were never meant to be.
Okay.
All right. So that's one point. The other point is, I think we had been very, helpful, transparent, give everybody what they want, anything they want, including active Excel documents with our budget numbers. But as I'm thinking about this, that is not best practice because no one should be playing with our budget numbers by having a live Excel document. In fact, they could actually make a mistake unknowingly and then blame us for the mistake. And I think we should be giving PDF versions of our budget documents that cannot be manipulated. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I don't really see the need for them to be manipulated from a committee that doesn't develop our budget or know our, I guess I don't see the need for it other than nice to have, I guess. So if everybody else is okay with just continuing to provide the PDF that in the format that we have decided we like, it's a format we've worked on for the last 2 years. We've tweaked some things, we've changed some things. So we've made it so it's something that works for us. Unless you guys want to provide something different, it's totally up to you.
Kathy, does Infinite Visions print out a budget report in a certain format?
Yes, I can print out in, I can choose different groups and settings to put it in an order, not the order that we've come to know that well, but I could do it by school. I could do it by function codes. So yes, I could.
So when you create our reports, you have to go in and manually manipulate what would otherwise be the report coming from Infinite Visions?
I don't manually manipulate that report. What I do is I dump the actuals through like year-to-date December. I dump those actual numbers by the account number. It does the VLOOKUP, it drops it in. I don't like to use the word manipulate, but what I look at is the forecast. There's nothing in the system that's going to give us a forecast number.
Oh, so you have to go through and fill
So,
out that
right,
column that goes
right.
through. So you're taking Infinite Visions data, putting it into a separate program. Is that usually Excel that you're using?
Yes. And in fact, every month, what I do is I take a year-to-date dump of the ledger, every line item, and I put it into a pivot table and provide it to every principal and assistant principal in special education, so they can actually drill down into each account. It compares actual to budget by account. They can pull in vendor, they can pull in memos. And so if they're running over budget, they can find out exactly why. If they're under budget, they can look and say, oh, shoot, Kathy, I don't see the Power School invoice. Where is it? And it's been helpful. For example, JV games, sports games, transportation, I was charging to the middle school, unbeknownst to me. You send out the pivot table, the athletic folks go, no, you got to move it over here. So it's been good in helping me understand where things should go and making sure that if we have to reclass something to the correct place, the principals know what they're spending. They know what their budget is. They know every month where they are against budget year to date and by month.
It's nice having an extra set of eyes going through that too, for sure.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that when we're asking for all of these reports, I didn't know exactly how labor intensive the process was in creating the different things.
From an actual point of view, not labor intensive.
Kathy, just one more thing. When you export the information from Infinite Visions, and you do have the opportunity to choose which information is provided, what isn't, maybe if you just make it a point that every single time you do the same report, like the report that's going to the Board of Finance, is it the same report every single time?
It is. It's the report that you folks get.
Okay.
Yep. And it's the same. It's been grouped by salaries, employee benefits, other expenses, transportation, tuition. We've been doing this for the last year in this format so that we can look at the expenses by type, but then it also shows the location. So whether it's the elementary school, the high school, special education, it's the same report I give you folks every single month that then goes on to the Board of Finance.
And we have changed that report over the years. So we've been through a few business managers.
Right.
So every time we have a different
Right.
business manager, we get a different type of report. I think what's happening right now is the Board of Finance is focusing on prior reports on prior outlays, how we did it, and not understanding the report we have in place now is the one we've decided to do. We've worked it out with Kathy and Troy. This is the report. So instead of going back to reports from 2024 and 2023, they need to be focusing on what's in front of them right now for the format.
And just to go back to what Troy said about line by line, I do like when all the lines match up. So we can I keep all my reports together and I do put them side by side and I go line by line when we're going over them. So it makes it easier when line 137 is always line 137 going across.
And
or
that's
line
exactly what the
69 or
Board of
whatever.
Finance
Yeah.
does.
And that was one of the big things that the Board
Yeah.
of Finance said, but it makes it easier for us too, when we're looking. I don't use the computer and all that. I actually put the two reports side by side. So it makes it easier to follow which line is which line.
And
At that
because
meeting, it was-
it creates a question.
Mhm.
So it's just a format of let's not create questions, and it's not that there's necessarily anything wrong. It just makes, if you're looking at the report and you're comparing it to the month before, because that's what we're supposed to do on the Board of Finance when I was on there, it raises a question. And I think it's not so much about the numbers, it's the consistency. So
I keeping in mind that when we have to add a line, so I rephrased cyber insurance to cyber incident because if I added a line, my line numbers would have been different from month to month. So I didn't want to add a line because that would create, but then by changing it,
Names.
yeah, so it wasn't consistent in describing what it truly was.
Or just
The-
keep the original name /
Exactly,
because
exactly.
things do evolve.
Yeah, but I think
just
we,
let it, so then they see, okay, this evolved. Why did this evolve? Look at the number here, the number there.
I agree.
They're,
Yeah.
everyone will put it together.
And I think
know?
we've got to the point where our reports, we've worked out the kinks over the last couple of years and we're at that point where the numbers should be pretty darn close. And if they're not, then I speak up and say, I have to add a line. But, to Troy's point, we might have to add a line as we go along. We might have to change a few things.
And I do thank you for the reports because I like the way they are now.
Okay, good.
Any other questions on the financial reports? Is everybody okay bringing those forward in the format that they're in? Okay. And hopefully we can explain that so that everybody else is okay with it as well. We have consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Future agenda items, anyone?
I have a quick question. Somebody actually made the suggestion, the school calendar. Is there a way that we can, and help me because I'm not technology savvy, click subscribe so it all goes onto the Google, like their phone calendar? I guess you can subscribe to calendars and it all inputs it on your personal calendar. Is that feasible? Or does that cost money? Because if it costs money, no.
What calendar are you
The,
referring to?
the school calendar, a regular school
It-
calendar.
it-
with
So
so
there's
the
one
one
that's
that
in the
we have is
packet?
in a PDF format like that, though. It's not going to be a live calendar.
Right.
You can
Okay.
do that if you have like a Google calendar that has the school calendar placed into it,
Okay.
but you can't import it from
See,
the PDF form.
not tech
so.
savvy.
Any other items that you guys want us putting on the on the agenda coming up? Okay. Public comment? Not seeing any. We need a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All right, and then when we come out, we'll be adjourning. So for those of you that drop off, if you don't want to, there will be no discussion when we come out.